Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We start Surah Baqarah Tafseer with a newer approach to understand Quran Tafsir by a group of verses categorized in themes. Today we will start this series from verses 1 to 5 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Please watch the video on explaining this entire ring pattern for Surah Baqarah in the summary video. Today we will discuss faith and believer for verses 1 through 5. One of the main themes of Surah Al-Baqarah is guidance. We see that verse 2 speaks about guidance, then the next two verses discuss faith and the believer, and in a ring pattern the topic goes back to the guidance from Allah. Now we will go into more detail with these verses. So how do we get guidance? In verse 2, we see that Allah is calling for no doubt in this book. La raiba fihi. And again we see in verse 4 that certainty, yaqeen, is required for belief in the hereafter. So you come to this book with no doubt and have certainty in the hereafter, and then you will be guided. And in order to receive the guidance, the precondition is to be a muttaqoon, as we see in verse 2. Muttaqoon is one who has taqwa. The fear and God consciousness must already be present in the heart to be guided by the Quran. But if someone is approaching the Quran to contradict it or to change its laws, they will not be guided. So we need the heart to acknowledge its creator and recognize who is the author of the Quran. Verse 5 makes a very important connection that the muttaqoon receive the guidance directly from Allah through the Quran, which is our connection with Allah. So verse 5 also states that it is the muttaqoon who attain the ultimate success as measured by Allah and not by the measurement of our worldly success. Please note in verse 2, though the translation says this is the book, the actual word is dhalika, which means that, referring to something far away, because there is a written version of the Quran in the Allahul Mahfuz, the preserved tablet which is with Allah. Now let's talk about faith and the believer, another important theme in these verses. In verse 3, belief in the unseen is mentioned, which is very important, and we will speak about this a bit later. Within verses 3 and 4, we observe two important principles of faith: belief and action. We need the belief or faith relating to all matters of the unseen, unlike the people who have to see to believe. You need faith in all the revelation from Allah and belief in the hereafter. And with faith, we see action is required, as with the establishing of prayer and spending. We see the ending verses of Surah Al-Baqarah also discuss faith and dua of the believer, which is part of action. Verse 285, which we will study at the end of this surah, highlights belief in all the revelations, which is also part of faith. So Surah Baqarah begins and ends in the same way with verses on faith and the believer. Now let's talk a bit about the importance of faith in the unseen, which is a key concept in receiving guidance from the Quran. Scientists have a hard time with faith because they want to believe in what is seen, using the faculties given to us. So because they cannot see the agent or the doer in nature, they say it evolves through natural processes. If you look around in nature and at your own creation, you feel the presence of the Creator. As you know, this creation cannot be random. But Allah does not leave His evidence in nature, or there will be no test in finding Him. So even when Allah showed many miracles in the past, such as with Musa or Isa alayhi salam, many people would still not believe, because miracles too can create doubt, such as, was this magic, an illusion, or was this a case of godly power present in man on earth? Na'udhu billah. As was the case with Jesus in Christianity. So Allah wants us to not rely on the faculty of seeing. Rather, he calls us to use the faculty or the senses given to the qalb or heart, which comprises of faith, love, and even the ability to reason. The fact that the heart has faith and ability to reason is mentioned in the Quran. So Quran will reveal the truth to the person who is seeking it from his heart. If you're enjoying observing the ring pattern within Surah Al-Baqarah, I also have a book on Amazon for discussing ring pattern in detail for both Surah Al-Baqarah and Imran as shown here in this picture. If you have benefited, please like, subscribe, comment, and keep watching this series. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.